worried about being exposed to people's blood, I just got done doing my online training, than we are about stopping it. I sometimes laugh because I don't know if you guys have ever looked through your classroom emergency buckets. It's not very much helpful stuff in there. So like in the event of an emergency, we'd be using clothing. There's no tourniquets. Like mine had a jump rope, which I was like, well, we could use that as a tourniquet. But there's not, so I'm just praying we never actually have to use them. But you could, if you get a big cut on a main artery, you were to do something like this, you could use a belt, you could use cloth and a twig and try to tighten it up if you were up hunting. A lot of you were up the outdoors this summer. But you've got to stop the bleeding. The tourniquet goes above the wound. We can talk about that. Questions about bleeding? Direct pressure.
Probably nosebleed.
Pinch the bridge, like right under that bone. Pinch it, and you're supposed to lean forward.
Not bad.
Not back. Okay. And they're not a big deal other than if they last for a really long time or if it's excessive amount, then you might have to get some help. But most of the time, like I said in the video, the kids are like, you've got to be kidding me. We're talking about nosebleeds for 5 minutes. But any other questions about bleeding? Anybody had crazy experiences? Yeah. Burns. So first degree typically, like just turns red, curling iron or flat iron, or like some of us get sunburn. The second degree usually ends up with a blister, and then that third degree is where it starts to kill the layers of your skin, so it can turn black and the skin's going to die. Burns are really, really painful. Our skin's going to continue to cook even after the heat source is removed, so you've got to cool them down. So cool running water. I show the kids Rescue 911. Do you guys remember that show? Like about a kid that gets caught on fire because he's playing with gas and it comes back on him. And so they all are like, oh my gosh. But burns are a big one. When people get burned on large parts of their body, they're at really high risk for infection. They're also really, really painful. And again, it's kind of like a turkey where your skin just continues to cook even after the heat source is gone. So you've got to get them cooled down. Just another picture of first degree, second degree. Not ice cold water, but cool running water. The mom in that video, like the daughter turned on the hose and they got a wet blanket and put it over this poor kid. Most of his back was burned. People, we teach even like probably kindergarten. Were you kindergarten last year? And somebody else is like, hey, whatever, you got the little people. So when we taught it, Mark and I actually taught it with the park when we first got here. And like those little people, I was like, call 911, and we teach stop, drop, and roll from you're up to us, but when you're on fire, that is not what your brain tells you to do. So every story that I've ever heard of someone catching on fire, they run or panic. So like I had a pair that worked with me at Highland Park whose husband had to tackle somebody at a 4th of July barbecue because like your brain is in panic, fight or flight. So you can still please keep teaching the stop, drop, and roll, but just know that when we're actually happening, it's probably not going to help. Big burns, calling 911, cover the person. If you can get their stuff off, you can get it off, but again, it's going to probably be stuck to their skin. Questions about burns? Am I going too fast, or is it okay? Okay. Electrical injuries, these ones scare me a little bit. They can mess with your heart rhythm, of course. My son likes to stick things in the outlet just a little bit, and so I'm always a little concerned about what's going to happen. We have a lot of lightning out here too, so you probably all have stories of people that have been struck. A lot of damage can happen on the inside, and that we don't know, so watch out for that. Make sure the scene is safe before you go. This is like I imagine a car hitting a power pole and the pole coming down. My instinct would be to help and help as quickly as you can, but people on the inside of the car would be safe. It's, trying to get to them, or if they get out, then you have problems. So electricity is just something you got to be really careful with. Bites and stings. Oh, our creepy crawly friends. What kind of poisonous spiders do we have in Wyoming? Brown recluse. Black widow, did you say? What else? Is that pretty much it?
The hobo.
The hobo? Mm-hmm. What about snakes? Rattlesnakes. I just saw Joanne has some rattles. Not sure. if she inherited these from Kathy Barker or what, but those are some big ones. It's a little terrifying, actually. I always have a hard time because the rattlers and the bull snakes look pretty similar, and you have to get real close before you figure out which one's which. And I'm not a fan of snakes, so I just say stay back. You know, yeah, try not to panic. Bites and stings, unless you're really allergic, most of the time, cool running water, get that stinger out of there. My son started at a new daycare and got bit twice on his first day. And they're like, is he allergic? I'm like, well, I don't think so, but I don't think he's ever been bit twice either. So his poor little hand swelled up. You guys probably have that a lot at the elementary. Spider bites are something to be aware of because if it's the wrong kind, of course, they can get infected. So it's something to watch out for. If your leg's turning red or getting warm, that's a sign of infection. Nothing really. Washing the bite area, bag of ice, and unless they have allergic reaction and are having trouble breathing, you should be okay. Heat-related emergencies. Probably all of us have had a heat cramp at some point or a muscle spasm, sweating, headaches. A lot of times I don't know, something like 90% of us are dehydrated at any given time, they say, or the statistics, something like that. So something that happens quite frequently. And those of you that are coaching, it's not as bad here, but I know when I went to California, I think nearly every year they had some type of heat-related emergency with kids. And so I'm not a fan of, as a coach, even of us not giving water breaks and not encouraging kids to be hydrated. So please keep that in mind, especially if it decides to go back to being summertime weather. And I don't think our kids do a good job of staying hydrated and drinking water. There's too many other options. So heat exhaustion's like the next level. If you got, the heat stroke, heat exhaustion, the cramps are kind of the first sign. That's something that we have to be aware of if you guys are coaching outside, especially. The elements can be kind of difficult if someone's nauseous or they get cool and pale and clammy. Those cramps, like I said, are maybe the first start. If they start to lose consciousness, then you've gone into the heat stroke category. Anybody ever had a experience with this? You have heat stroke or heat exhaustion or a little bit of both, or?
My mom and I aren't totally sure. I just had cardiac ablation for my STD. Maybe 3 or 4 weeks before, and I was mowing lawn, and it wasn't super hot like we always do. It was cool, but my heart rate really elevated. It was running like, if I was sitting there for 15 minutes, 105, 110ish. I'd been trying to hydrate, but I never actually had cramps. But I started I'd been sweating profusely.
Yeah.
My body temp was definitely elevated, and I started feeling faint. It's just exhausted, but I thought it was from mowing.
Yeah.
And it took, my mom made me go lay in the basement, which usually feels good, and I was shivering in the basement, and I just laid down there. It took 2.5 hours.
To get your body back.
Yeah.
Think about this with our runners. In the video, it's the cross-country kids that are out and a kid has cramps and they try to get him to stop and he hasn't been drinking. And so just keeping an eye on our kids, making sure that they're hydrating and they're not pushing themselves too far. You've got to cool them down if you start to suspect that you've got something going on. I threw this in there. This wasn't in Joanne's. It's just something I feel like as a health teacher that is happening more and more, and it's even here in Sheridan, even though we don't really want to think about it. And so the opioid situation in our country, right, it just keeps going up and up and up and up, and now those drugs are being mixed with fentanyl, which is very, very dangerous. So I try to talk to the kids a little bit about this and just being aware of what you're doing and what you're taking and who you're getting your stuff from. And I feel like they come up with different concoctions every year. I don't know. I'm kind of tired of our kids having seizures because of whatever they decide to huff or take or swallow or whatever. So overdoses are going up. The fentanyl is really a huge issue in our country. I think finally we have naloxone here at the high school. I doubt that you have it at any of the other schools, but it might be a question you could ask your nurse, because if fentanyl does end up in your building at some point, it's not how I want to die, because I take pills from some kid that I'm trying to save and then touch fentanyl or inhale it or whatever. So we finally, I think Mike, I think we finally got it here. Do you know that for sure?
I don't know for sure, but I know they talked about it.
They talked about it, and I feel like the last time we asked, they said we had it. It's pretty easy to administer. Like, it's something that I believe you can even get like from a pharmacist if you had a family member who had a situation with, opioids or whatever. So just stuff for you guys to know. Okay, so we're gonna watch a little bit of the video. You've probably heard the term like cardiac arrest and heart attack. I typically hear people talk about heart attacks. It's usually what we say. They are different. We sort of use them, we kind of just throw them out there. But cardiac arrest is a rhythm problem. So being shocked, or struck by lightning or something like that, or anything that's gonna make your heart go into a different fibrillation. And heart attack is more like the plumbing issue, a clogging. So I always, talk to the kids about, like, part of the reason that it's the number one cause of death in our country is because of what we eat and what we drink and our lack of exercise. And so, yes, I was like my high school kids, enjoy it. You're young, you can eat what you want, but you can't see what's on the inside. And so as we do no exercise and eat whatever we want, like, our arteries are just getting closed off and smaller and smaller and smaller. And then, like in my dad's case, he had 6 blockages and had to have open heart surgery to bypass that. So his was a heart attack. Cardiac arrest is when it goes into a different... The AEDs that are around pretty much everywhere now are far more likely to help in the cardiac arrest situation, but they still, a heart attack could cause cardiac arrest as well. So our AEDs are becoming pretty prevalent, and you guys are going to get to see how they work. If you are bored, you can answer those questions at CPR refresher if there's any left out there, or you can look at these books. We're just going to watch the first 15 minutes and kind of get the rundown in case you've never done CPR before, and then we'll practice. If you guys need a break or anything like that, everybody good to go? There we go.
There are moments in life we wish we could freeze in time. We live them. We live for them. They are intimately personal. They are gladly shared. What is life if we cannot experience these moments of joy, wonder, and happiness? We want people to experience more of life's precious moments. To do that, we must be healthy in heart and mind. The heart is where life's moments are felt most. The mind is where these moments become memories and are relived again and again. It's why